Hello, everybody online. This is a special segment for you. So we want you to enjoy the gallery walk as much as everyone who's here in person. So come and walk with me and we'll have a chat with some of our presenters. If you have any questions, use the Slido. There's a link for the gallery. In the Q&A part, if you just put the number of the presenter first and your question, I'll keep an eye on the Slido in my hand and I'll ask your question for you. So this is presentation 1. And I just have to distract our presenter. We've got Christine here. I'm really sorry, but can I just interrupt you? Hi, Christine. And you're joining everybody online here. Christine, can you tell us which institution you're representing and the title of your poster?
Yep, I'm part of Western Sydney University. We're a very diverse cohort of learners. We're on multi-campuses across Greater Western Sydney, inner city, and some international campuses now. So we have students from every equity group imaginable. So UDL fits really well. So the title of my presentation is From a University Sessional Advocate to an Emerging Universal Design for Learning institutional-wide approach. So it's really just my story, 10 years of beginning to find UDL articles when I was doing my final placement as a social work student, and now it's gone full circle that I'm actually a full-time academic teaching social work students doing their placements and being able to implement this either as a sessional advocate to doing like subject. And now we've got university-wide initiatives that are occurring. So it's just like this full circle, both approaches working together collaboratively. Everything that Frederic and Sean talk about today, it was all these things are all in this presentation. So from the badges to the charter from Altitude in Ireland to...
Wow, so you have the badges and a charter as well at the university?
No, but that's what we're hoping to get to. So we're doing institutional approaches where we're doing accessibility statements now on our homepages, on our learning sites. We're doing digital accessibility. We're reinvigorating that, and we're piloting a lot of programs to see how we're going to go with bringing that in at an institutional level. So things are on the move, but we were very siloed. We didn't know that other pockets of UDL work had been going on until we did a roundtable where we had student representatives, disability advisors, faculty, professional staff, accessibility, digital gurus, and we all went, we didn't know that you were doing this work. So it was only then that we have just launched a UDL community of practice group at Western. So that was only in May. So
Christine, would you say, is that one of your highlights, your community of practice?
Beginning, yes, I'm only just part of that, but I have so valued having come across ADCET, community of practice group. That was my lifeline when I was so isolated, to meet with colleagues that I didn't have to explain it. They understood it. They were happy to collaborate and share their ideas. Best move ever.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And the UDL family is very much about intellectual generosity.
To borrow.
Yes. And just before we wrap up, if people are interested to find out more what you're doing at the Western Sydney Uni, how can they go about doing that?
Happy for them to email me and I'll put them in touch. Happy to connect them to, with other community of practice groups. I did some research for one of my presentations in Honolulu, and I connected people up with other community of practice groups that I'd found in several countries. So happy to pass on those resources.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Christine. I haven't got any questions in Slido, but I'll keep an eye. And if you do have a question for Christine, just number 1 and your question, and I'll come back to her. Thank you very much. Right, let's head on over to another poster. Oh. Seems a bit rude to interrupt people. Let's keep going this way. It's getting quite rowdy. Aha. So we're jumping to poster 4. So we have Ella Collins-White and Monique Laura. Ella and Monique, could I bring you over this way a little bit. Now, I know that these two are from the University of Sydney, so I'll just jump straight to the title of their poster. Can you tell us what the title of your poster is?
So our poster is called the Proactive Design Intensive. And that's because I was very uncreative and just named it what I was going to talk about. So I'm talking about the Proactive Design Intensive, which is a three-day intensive that Monique and I have now run. We'll be running the third one next week. And it's basically an opportunity for academics to come along and work with educational designers and work on their design and their courses and any challenges that they're struggling with. And the most amazing thing is the collaboration between different people from different faculties with different expertise, kind of giving each other ideas and building really inclusive spaces.
Thank you. And I've seen this in action, and people are really hungry for this kind of work. Monique, can you tell us a little bit about what's the story that your poster is telling us?
So the poster is about how and why the Proactive Design Intensive had been created. And this is about getting people to be intentional about their design and how people can, or academics can actually think of all the students and then embed in their course design. And in the story, we talk about the impact that it had on the participants, but also on the students. And so we know that for the first two iterations of PDI, we have probably influenced 7,000 students at the University of Sydney. So that's good.
I was going to ask you a highlight. Is that the highlight, or do you have another one that you'd like to share with everyone online?
I think the highlight for me is really being able to see the thought and care that goes into people's work and giving them the opportunity to really spend time and let that part of their course design really flourish, because as we all know, that's a challenge as educators, to actually find the time and be able to do the things that you really care about and that you really think are important.
Thank you, Ella. And yeah, it really is like a magic wand of creating time. I mean, we don't create time, but people value just blocking that time out. So if people online are interested to learn more about the Proactive Design Intensive, how do they go about doing that?
So you can get in touch with me and Monique. So our emails are just our names. So ella.collins-white@sydney.edu.au. And Monique's is monique.laura@sydney.edu.au. We'd love to hear from you. So yeah, hope you're enjoying your online experience.
Thank you both. I don't have any questions yet. So I'm going to see if I can, where should we go to next? I'll see if I can interrupt Trina. Come on with me. Baby, I don't think this is the right time to interrupt. Come on this way. This is very freestyle, everybody. So we might just linger for a minute. I'll give you a little bit of context. I'll give Kriya the eye, but this is my colleague, Kriya Coleman, educational designer at the University of Sydney. And her poster is entitled Transition to University. Kriya is in the process of doing her PhD, and transition and self-regulated learning is a real passion of hers. So I'll see if we can just nudge in and I'll ask her to share a little bit about her story. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Nice.
Can I just nudge in? Keep asking questions if you want to, but Priya, I've already introduced you to our online audience, so they know who you are and the title of your poster. But can you tell us a little bit about the story that you're sharing this afternoon?
Absolutely. So I work at the University of Sydney with Sarah, and a lot of the work we do around transition is helping our students who are new to university adjust to how they're going to be learning in this new space. And much of that conversation is helping them feel like they fit and they belong. But I'd like to add into that conversation how those students can learn to adjust to this new educational environment. And the theories that I'm interested in deploying in that conversation are around self-regulated learning and socially shared regulation of learning. Because we know that some students arrive really able to think about their learning, critique their own learning, review their strategies for learning in light of their own goals. They're really goal-oriented already. Yet other learners have never paused to do some of that thinking. And it's our role to help them through those questions around what's my goal? Where am I heading? How is this learning going? What sort of progress am I making? How could I tweak my approach? And the conversation I was just having was interesting. You know, should we stop this conversation at the end of year one, or should we reinvent this conversation when they move into year 2 of their studies? You know, isn't transition just really a journey, not a starting point? So I think, you know, some of those activities around how did last year go for you? What were your strengths? What were some of the strategies that worked for you? What do you need to continue doing? What could you change to perhaps see different outcomes now that you're a second-year student or a third-year student? So it's really thinking about facilitating students to pause and reflect on themselves as learners.
And I love the way you describe, I mean, that is diversity right there. You talked about the different edges, students who come prepared, goal-oriented, those who aren't, and how we need to keep helping them to think about what do they need next. Can you share with us a highlight that you, from your poster that you'd like to, or from your research even, that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I've just done a whole lot of data collection with first-year students at a different university, but I think I was really well, not blown away by, but you know, I was impacted by how diverse they were as learners, and how they really were. These were first-year students, so they were really fresh, and some of them really didn't have a clear vision for where they were heading. And some of the activities and the conversations they were having with me and with others were around helping them to do that thinking for themselves. And I think it really, for me, it really reinforced that we have a job to do as educators to facilitate this growth in self-regulated learning. I don't think we can assume that it's just going to happen. We really need to support students in that process.
Your passion is palpable, so I hope that's channeling through the camera. I have a question from Caitlin for you. In fact, I have maybe a couple of questions. No. So Caitlin has asked, does self-assessment factor into this? And how can we make self-assessment more impactful and active?
And I think self-assessment doesn't come in just one form. So as a teacher, I guess a strategy that I would be using is when I'm introducing an assessment task to my students, I'd want to be making sure that I'm giving them time to unpack the task, make sure that they're clarifying their own understanding of what this task requires of them. I'd be drawing their attention to the rubric. I'd be helping them understand that the rubric is there for them so that they can reflect on their execution of the task. And then at the end, I'd be coming back to the rubric and saying, so take some time now to make some notes on how that went. What did you think you needed to do differently? Looking at the rubric, looking at the task that you've just submitted. So making sure that every assessment opportunity is a cyclical opportunity to think about what are we doing? Why are we doing it? How are we doing it? Are we doing it well? And we've got lots of tools already in place. It's just using those tools like rubrics. But there is another instrument that I used in my research. It's called the Motivated Strategies for Learning questionnaire, and it is specifically designed to give students an opportunity to think about themselves as learners in whatever context they're in. And that's the instrument that I used to collect some of my quantitative data for this research.
So strategic goal-oriented learners sounds a lot like UDL to me. Thank you, Kriya. And if people want to get in touch, just your email through the university.
Kriya.coleman@sydney.edu.au. And yeah, welcome to ask any questions and I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Caitlin, for participating online. You can go and get yourself a glass of wine now. Let's see. Follow me over here. So we'll just sidle up alongside Jessie and eavesdrop for a minute. Okay.
This is just a demo. It's a very early iteration of it. But I think it would be a really simple, easy way to kind of demonstrate, particularly things on a spectrum that you need to change the levels of. And when we're trying to make change in universities, especially having something to show can be an easier way, particularly for like expanding disciplines. Yeah. So there'll be some demos if you want to grab the QR code, and you can also have the access of this. If you want to grab that QR code. Left the PhD.
So, hi, Jessie. So we were just eavesdropping there. Jessie Dillon, just would like to introduce you to everybody online. Jessie, can you tell everyone where you're from today and the title of your presentation?
Sure. I'm from Victoria University, and my presentation is called Transforming Placement Preparation for Asynchronous Online Learners Using a Multimodal Universal Design for Learning Approach.
Fabulous. Yes. And I have to tell you, it's a beautiful poster because it has some sparkly UDL inspired gems on it. But Jessie, can you tell us what's your story that you're sharing today?
Sure. My poster is talking about a placement preparation unit that I redesigned with a team of academics at VU, and how using universal design for learning informed that design and what improvements it made to the unit and how many students have been impacted by those changes.
So that leads me perfectly to my next question. What's a highlight from this process that you'd like to share or that you have shared on your poster?
I think probably at the moment we're gathering data about sort of the effects and the impacts, but definitely the anecdotal feedback from the teaching staff is that students feel more confident, more prepared, and more ready to go on placement. And it's in early childhood education. So a lot of very high percentage of students are international, and they have a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear about going into the workplace in Australia and making mistakes, even after a full degree. So that's been a really kind of monumental thing to have that many students feel that this has changed the way that they approach it.
That's fabulous. Empowering our learners and helping them feel that they have agency for their future. So just to wrap up, if people want to find out more about the work that you've been doing, how would they go about that?
Sure. You can email me if you want to get in touch, jessie.dillon@vu.edu.au. Find me on LinkedIn, message me. I'm around. And I'm always happy to ask questions or chat.
Fabulous, Jessie. Thank you. And thank you for joining us for our gallery session.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's head on over this way. We do have some 3 videos rolling on a screen, but everybody online, there is a YouTube link, so you can have a look at those videos in the comfort of your own home. Hello, Frederic. I'm going to come to you shortly. But up this way. It's Sue that I'm after. Sorry. I think we've just got one more. Hope I'm not walking too fast for the camera. So Sue, just before you take a bite, I'll give you the heads up that I'm here with the microphone. Just a few quick questions. This is my fabulous colleague. Also, yes, Sue's a little camera shy, but we're talking to our Zoom friends and they're really interested to hear, Sue, a little bit about the enormous amount of work that you're doing in the School of Chemistry. And really, that's not, I'm not overestimating. Sue does a lot of work. So Sue, tell me, Sue Hemsley, what's the title of your presentation?
The title of my presentation is,
You're welcome to hold it.
Institutionalising UDL, bottom up meets top down.
And can you tell us a little bit about what's the story behind that title?
The story is about my experiences as an educational designer in the School of Chemistry here at Sydney, where I've been for about 3 years now. And in that time, going from not knowing much at all about UDL through to really wanting to advocate for it to be much more broadly applied. So the bottom down refers to the sort of coalface people that I'm working with in chemistry. And there are a small number of people who are already working in this space, even if they don't put that label on it, and they're doing great things. And the top up refers to sort of university-wide support and resources. Sarah is one of those. So the university and the Designing for Diversity team, headed up by Sarah, provides a lot of opportunities for people to learn and a lot of resources around universal design for learning. But in my observation, it's mainly the converts, as it were, who go along to those things, and trying to get new people on board is probably my challenge at the moment within the School of Chemistry. And probably the biggest step forward in that space was last year getting the head of and associate head education on board with embracing universal design for learning in the school strategic plan. So that's now embedded in that as an aim for the school. And from here on, Sarah's been helping me out a lot with planning a rollout of how we're going to get more people on that train, if you like. And that's really starting off in a tangible way just next month when we're running a school-wide workshop for academics on UDL and how they can get started.
Thank you, Sue. And you really are amazing because you're so persistent. And to get UDL into the strategic plan for the school is no small feat. And it's going to be really exciting to watch what you're able to do at a whole school level. Because as you said, we have pockets of people doing great stuff, but do we have a culture of UDL? And if you are going to get this into the School of Chemistry, so if people are interested, I've got a question for you here. What were your main strategies to get this in the school strategic plan? Thank you, Anonymous Online.
That was probably facilitated a lot by the current head of the school, not in the UDL space, but when the strategic plan came up for renewal, he was very inclusive about allowing everybody to make contributions as to what they would like to see in that plan across the board, academics, professional staff, and so on. And basically, I just pitched to him and pitched into that process that it would be a great thing for the school to do. And he was very supportive of it. Had it been a different person at the helm, maybe that would have been a little bit harder, but he's not someone who works in that space. He is a passionate teacher, but he's not a UDL sort of convert, but he was very open to that and thought it was a great thing for our students. So I was lucky in that respect. Yeah. So finding, I think trying to leverage your local power brokers and leadership is the takeaway, I think. Yeah.
I also think you really apply the Thomas Tobin +1 approach to everything that you do. You're very steady and measured, and even the language in the strategy around let's start by embracing UDL really gives us an opportunity together to play around with let's explore mindset and start shifting that so it doesn't scare people off. Sue, thank you so much. You really are doing a fabulous job. and you can relax now. Okay, we have one more presentation, which I think we can squeeze in before our book launch, which is at around 5 o'clock. So I'm just going to head over here and we're going to interrupt Trina, who's representing the TAFE sector. Hi, Trina. Trina, so as your poster that hopefully can be seen on camera, you're representing TAFE South Australia. Can you tell me about the title of your posters and the story that you're sharing this evening?
So what we're trying to do is get some more conversation about integrating universal design for learning in assessment in the vet sector and highlighting the value of collaboration through a community of practice. So it's about, we find a lot of people are very scared of moving or challenging compliance in vet assessment. So if we can introduce UDL but show how it can still be compliant, you know, it's going to be a much better outcome for everybody. So I'm just looking for people to join or to contact me and have join-in discussions where we can start tackling some current assessments in practice, unpacking them and looking at how we can improve them.
I love it when I hear collaboration, as, you know, helping people challenge the way they think about assessment. What's a highlight that you're sharing today or that you've experienced in this process so far?
So I've been getting lots of questions from people. In Skills SA have been funding a UDL leaders program and they've all been coming to connect, which has been fantastic. And I just did Frederic's presentation and he talked about once you've done PD, there's often and they change something, but there's nowhere to go next. So I'm thinking this could be a really good project for people that have done some PD and started getting into it to go to the next level and continue with that. So I just thought I'd jump on that one as a highlight.
It's fabulous. And we've heard from the other poster presenters this evening that this really is about a community of sharing what we're doing with each other so that we can build and grow and improve and make things more inclusive for our learners. If people want to know more, particularly because you're representing TAFE, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, there's a QR code on the poster, so we'll look at how I can share that.
Can we put
Yes, we certainly can. Yeah. Should I say it now? It's Trina, TRINA .Bianchini, BIANCHINI @tafesa.edu.au or LinkedIn. That'll be the other backup.
Yeah, LinkedIn's quite helpful, isn't it? Trina, thank you so much. You are our last poster because we're now going to take a pause for Frederic's book launch. So thank you so much. So everybody online, we're going to, yes, please. So actually, let's head on up to the front. Sam's going to corral everybody into the room. I hope you're also joining with a little beverage of choice and maybe some cheese and bickies. And so we have Frederic here this afternoon in the orange shirt. We do need to pull his slides up. So we could actually pause for a moment. Would that be okay? And can we have like a, we'll come right back.
That's great.
Yeah. We're on your way. Yes. Okay.
You're all right. Do you want to stop that?
So we'll get
Well,
and this is Sam. So we'll just wait for Sam to come back in the room. We make sure we can get people into the room that there's food and drinks outside. welcome back to Australia
Thank you.
and to the mic.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the introduction. I won't take much of your time. This is literally a 5-minute pitch. We know you're hungry and you want more drinks, etc. But we thought it'd be great to highlight the launch of this book at this event, since you're the prime market, you're the people who are going to be interested in this probably. And so I'm just going to show you a few slides, talk a little bit. What's this book about? Well, there's been enormous growth in UDL around the world at the moment, and rapid development, communities of practice, instructor research, etc. Lots of things happening. But it's quite clear that some people are missing at the table. And really what this book is about is like who's missing on that table. And I want to give you a few examples. Space and voice in research, right? There are many people who are doing UDL, but they're not present because they're not from global north countries. They're not, and they're not getting access to that space. So that's a call for all of us to look around as to who do we need to invite into this space? How do we change the dynamics of that space, etc. Also, in terms of priorities, much of the research, much of the scholarship is around priorities that are global north priorities. But if you talk to indigenous folks or you talk to global south folks, they are looking at UDL from a different lens and they have different priorities. And so we have to accept that UDL actually looks differently depending on where you're based and what context you're working on. There's also a lot of presumptions, particularly certainly happening in Canada, around the fact that UDL is a perfect tool for indigenization, right? And we have truth and reconciliation, we have all these movements going, oh, UDL fits right in there. So what this book also questions and interrogates is whether we're not getting that wrong too and not making certain assumptions, and the fact that, oh, UDL is the umbrella and indigenization fits in there, instead of reversing that and saying, actually, indigenization is the umbrella and UDL maybe has a role to play there, but we really have to rebalance the priorities there as well. And then finally, it's a space where we have to continue to be reflective and critical, and I use critical in the sense of critical theory and critical pedagogy, in looking at, again, how do we change the environment we're in? How do we invite the stakeholders? How do we change the majority discourse around UDL? How do we change those priorities, right? And that's all of our job. And so this volume is trying to do this. It's built in 3 sections. We have a first section with 5 chapters looking at indigenous wisdom meets UDL. And these are actually indigenous folks who are looking at the place that UDL may have in this wider reflection around truth and reconciliation and indigenization. The second section is from Global South colleagues. And so we have voices from India, from Iran, and from Morocco, showing us that actually UDL can look very different and have very different priorities, and also be confronted with very different realities as well in what we have available to us to make it a reality. The last one is from allies and advocates that are really doing that reflective piece about how do we become better allies and how do we invite invite colleagues in and change the spaces in which we're working, and also breaking away from some of the neoliberal pressures which are starting to very much frame how we promote UDL, etc. And so lots of 14 expert voices from leading institutions. We're really lucky to have Mukram Syed, who is at the university where I'm from, Thompson Rivers University, as a Canada Research Chair in Indigenizing Higher Education, has written the foreword. And we hope that it's a first step in changing some of the discourse that we have around UDL and maybe the Eurocentric vision that we've unfortunately and unwittingly allowed to develop. So that's about me. I don't need to do that. But about the publishers, we're also very happy that we have a publisher from India who's been the partner in this. It was very important for us as well to break away from that neoliberal push that we go to the same publishing houses and use global north stakeholders to do that. So there's a Padlet there. We try to keep this really short so we can go back to drinks and be merry. There's a Padlet code there if you want to scan it on your phone. There's a bit of information on there. Certainly the slides I've just shown you. There's some information about the publishers. There's a couple of videos from some of the contributors, etc. And you also have a space where you can leave your email. And when we go to release in July, we can send you a link and actually say this is where you can purchase the volume from, and it's ready for sales. So thank you very much for your time and have a great rest of the evening. Thanks.
Thank you. So that concludes day 1 of our UDL Symposium. We've got 45 minutes left to enjoy the catering. Just a reminder that tomorrow morning we're not in the theatre together. please go to the room that your first workshop of choice is going to be in, and the first 20-minute welcome will be streamed in there because we can't fit you all into the one room. So enjoy the rest of this evening, and we look forward to seeing you back here 9 a.m. tomorrow. Registration opens from 8. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Bye. And Zoom's done. Thank you.